After the first boss, you'll see these circles, just walk around them. Your party members might try to run into them and stuff. You can just heal them, nothing really worrying happens here, just, yeah. There's a mini boss here and he deals a huge amount of damage, however you can stun him and he's super weak to stuns, he gets stunned every time. So you can just spam these to avoid any further damage. So here's the second boss, Polyphemus. Anyway, second boss. He'll do attacks that will just fuck you up as a healer, so it's a good idea to really listen to what I have to say here. I learned from experience. So if you get targeted by a purple circle, there are two things that can happen here. The first is a large AoE attack in the shape of a cone, and basically the closer up to the cone you are, the more damage you're going to take. The further out you are, the less damage you'll take. You can survive if you're in the further end of the cone. I'm not sure about this if you're in Schisma, but in full dreadnaught gear, I can survive this attack if I'm at the further end of the cone. If you're in the front end of the cone, you'll die just immediately. So ideally, if you're a mystic, what you want to do to get out of this situation is you want to turn your camera around to face away from the boss and the attack and jaunt out of it. If you jaunt to either left or right, it won't be enough to get you out of the attack's line. So yeah, the only option as a mystic here is to just turn your camera around and jaunt backwards. So it's a little fucked up for mystics. Priests on the other hand get this really easy. There are multiple things that priests can do to avoid dying from this attack. The first being Kaya's shield. You can use this and it will help take a lot of damage for you. I'm not sure if it works if you're at the front of the cone, but I know if you're in the middle range of the cone and you use Kaya's shield, you won't die, so that's good for you. The second thing priests can do is they can backstep out of it, and they don't have to turn their camera around. You can just backstep straight out of this attack, which is really good for you. Really, pat on the back to priests being easy mode. Another thing I mentioned is if you are in the back and you get hit by this attack, it'll also apply a debuff as well as dealing a lot of damage. If this debuff isn't cleansed, you will turn to stone for a short amount of time. This can potentially kill you if you get hit afterwards, but for the most part you should be okay. Shouldn't be too hard to just purify it away. So the second thing that happens if a purple circle appears underneath you is he will just shoot fire out of his mouth and it will leave a fire AoE on the ground in the form of a straight line. If you get hit by the initial attack from this, it can definitely kill you. I've seen mystics where they've walked in at the start of the battle and he's used that fire blast attack straight away and the mystic just dies. So it's definitely a good idea to dodge out of that if you see that circle appear on you. The other thing, which is a good idea, is to not stand on the fire because it stays there for a pretty long time. It has a timer on it where eventually it'll go away, but for the most part it will sit there for a large amount of time. So just don't stand on them. The other thing that you should take note of is at a point in the battle, he will mention someone's name and he'll stand still and he'll face the direction of this person. If this person is you, you want to run to the nearest bomb and stand on the opposite side of it from him. So when he jumps, he'll land directly on the bomb and it'll stun him. The reason for this is if you don't stun him, he will do 2 waves of AoE attacks which can only be avoidable if you iframe them, and if you're a mystic, you only have 1 iframe and it's like a 6 or 7 second cooldown, which you won't be able to use, so you'll have to tank one of those attacks if you are a mystic. I think priests have 2 iframes, the fire backstep and the normal backstep. Priests also have the Kaya shield they can use. If you're a priest and the bomb part failed, you can just stand around the rest of your party, use Kaya shield, everything will be fine. Priests are easy mode. Yeah, I said it. That's about it for Polyphemus.